Top U.S. official murdered after Arkansas weapons test causes mass death. A shocking report prepared for Prime Minister Putin by the Foreign Military Intelligence Directorate (GRU) states that one of the United States' top experts in biological and chemical weapons was brutally murdered after he threatened to expose a U.S. military test of poison gas that killed hundreds of thousands of animals in Arkansas this past week.
New details coming in on a story breaking at this hour. A veteran Air Force officer who worked in 3 presidential administrations found murdered. The body of 66-year-old John Wheeler found in a landfill along the Delaware River. Police say a trash worker discovered the body on New Year's Eve. Police just released confirming his identity late yesterday. Check out this guy's resume. He is an impressive man. He graduated from West Point Military Academy in 1966, then got an MBA from Harvard Business School in 1969, then went on to graduate from Yale Law School in 1975. He went on to work for 3 presidential administrations, posts as Special Assistant to the Secretary of the Air Force, and also received the Air Force Exceptional Civilian Award in 2008. Here's what we know about his case. He was last seen Tuesday taking an Amtrak train from Washington, D.C. to Wilmington, Delaware. We are following all the developments on this. We'll bring you everything we can get on this. Police not saying a whole lot.
Now, a murder mystery involving a former Bush administration official. Delaware police say somebody killed him and dumped his body in the trash. Sanitation workers discovered his remains New Year's Eve at the Cherry Island landfill in Wilmington. The victim, 66-year-old John Wheeler, a retired Army officer who served in both Bush administrations and also under President Ronald Reagan. No word on how he died, but investigators have ruled it a homicide. Eric Sean has more live from our New York newsroom. What are the police saying tonight, Eric?
Well, John, you're right. He served at the highest levels of our government, but ended up in that landfill. Police tonight are appealing to the public for help because they don't even know where he was killed. Police do believe John Wheeler took an Amtrak train from Washington, D.C. to Wilmington, Delaware last Tuesday before his body was found in that landfill after it fell out of a garbage truck that had been picking up trash in the city of Newark, Delaware. The truck went to 10 dumpsters, police say, based on the autopsy. They don't think the body was in one of the dumpsters for very long, but other than that, they're not saying how he was killed or when. Cops are working to determine, though, where he was from the time he got off the train to the moment of his murder, John.
And what else do we know about John Wheeler?
Well, John Wheeler is married, and he dedicated his life to the armed forces and our troops. And as you mentioned, he served in the Reagan and Bush administrations. Wheeler graduated from West Point. He was a Vietnam veteran and one of the founders of the iconic Vietnam Veterans Memorial in Washington, D.C. In fact, he even served as the chairman of the memorial, as well as heading the group Mothers Against Drunk Driving. He also served as Special Assistant to the Secretary of the Air Force, Assistant General Counsel for the Securities and Exchange Commission, and was on the first President Bush's transition team. Recently, he was trying to get the ROTC back on college campuses across the country. One friend, Washington journalist James Fallow, says Wheeler was a very spiritually motivated person and says Wheeler sent him an email on Christmas night saying simply, "Merry Christmas, old friend, onward and upward." John?
Eric Sean, what a mystery. Eric, thanks.
Wheeler's military career included writing one of the most important manuals on the effectiveness of biological and chemical weapons, which led to his being hired in 2009 as a consultant to the Mitri Corporation, whose aviation system development department, the GRU reports, is at the forefront of creating the computer command and control systems used by the U.S. Air Force in their fleet of aerial spraying planes. These aerial spraying planes, this report continues, are based at the Little Rock Air Force Base in Arkansas that over the past few months have been involved with test dispersants of poisonous gases in the Afghanistan war theater using chemical weapon stocks obtained from Iraq and held at the Pine Bluff Arsenal, also located in Arkansas. Important to note about the Pine Bluff Arsenal, which calls itself America's Arsenal, is that it is one of the world's most specialized munitions and chemical biological defense products and services bases, which Russia had previously accused of not fully reporting the chemical agents removed from Iraq between 2003 and 2008 and taken to the U.S. for testing and subsequent destruction. According to this report, the U.S. relocated from Iraq to the Pine Bluff Arsenal an estimated 63,000 metric tons of the poisonous gas phosgene that is described as one of the most feared chemical weapons ever used due to its ability to literally cause the lungs and respiratory system to explode.
The dead bird mystery is multiplying. Animal biologists now say they're still trying to figure out what killed thousands of birds in Arkansas and Louisiana. And now reports of dead birds in western Kentucky as well. Several hundred of them turned up around the town of Murray last week. Among them, blackbirds and robins. The cause still unknown. As you'll recall, some 5,000 dead blackbirds reportedly fell right out of the sky in Arkansas over the weekend. We're told fireworks may have been the culprit there. In Louisiana, some 450 birds, including blackbirds and starlings, died on a stretch of highway there. That incident also still unsolved. And in Sweden, vets are examining the bodies of 50 jackdaws, which died in one city. I don't know. Preliminary tests indicate fireworks or cold weather could be to blame. Officials in Arkansas are also looking into what killed tens of thousands of fish last week in the Arkansas River. Not in the Arkansas, but in Maryland, the Department of the Environment is investigating some 2 million fish that went belly up in Chesapeake Bay between the Bay Bridge and the Tangier Sound. That's about a 60-mile stretch. 2 million fish. Officials say it appears the fish likely died of cold water temperatures rather than any poisons or water quality problems.
The 17 showed no signs of disease, although I can't rule disease out. They did have multiple hemorrhages on the inside of them, especially around the liver, which would mean that trauma, that the birds had went through some type of trauma. This is not something that we've seen, but we don't see that much wildlife. Birds fall from the sky, single birds on multiple occasions. I mean, it's not that unusual, but that many makes you think that it's not a disease, it's something cataclysmic happened all at one time. I mean, or they would have fallen in a wider area, maybe across the state instead of just right in one. I've heard that it was 1 square mile where almost 2,000 of them fell.